In 1996, a young artist named Maria Farmer was trapped inside a golden cage. She reached for a phone and dialed a number that should have changed everything. The FBI. She told them about the private island. She told them about the high-profile names. And she warned them about a shadow operation that was recruiting people right under their noses. But instead of a rescue, there was silence. A silence that lasted 2 decades. While the world saw a billionaire philanthropist, Maria saw a predator who was untouchable by the law. Why did the most powerful agency in the world look the other way? And how did one woman manage to survive a system that was designed to erase her? This isn't just a story about a crime. It's about how the truth was buried in plain sight. Today, we're opening the files that were meant to stay closed. In 1995, Maria Farmer was a talented 26-year-old artist looking for her big break in the New York art world. She was ambitious, gifted, and ready to show her work to the world. That's when she met a charismatic socialite who seemed to have all the right connections. This woman promised Maria a career beyond her wildest dreams, offering to introduce her to the global elite. Soon, Maria was introduced to the woman's partner, a wealthy, mysterious businessman. They didn't just want to buy her art. They wanted her to move into their inner circle. They invited her to work and live at a high-security estate in Ohio. To Maria, it looked like a residency for an artist, a place where she could focus only on her craft. But as soon as she arrived, the atmosphere changed. The estate was guarded by dogs and armed security. There were cameras everywhere, and slowly Maria realized she wasn't a guest, she was a prisoner. The estate in Ohio felt like a fortress. Maria was told where to go, when to eat, and who to talk to. She was under 24/7 surveillance, with cameras monitoring her every move, even inside her private quarters. It wasn't just the cameras. It was the people. She began to see others being brought to the property young, vulnerable, and clearly confused. The reality of the situation began to set in. This wasn't an art residency. It was a production line for something much darker. By the spring of 1996, the pressure was too much. Maria knew she had to get out. But the gates were locked, and the guards were always watching. In a moment of desperation, she found a landline phone and barricaded herself in a room, her hands shaking. She dialed the one number she thought could help. When the operator answered,
FBI, how can I help you?
Maria whispered the names that the rest of the world wouldn't dare to speak for another 20 years.
I'm at the Wexner estate in Ohio. You need to come here. There are young girls. They aren't safe. The man in charge is Jeffrey Epstein.
Ma'am, stay calm. Who did you say is involved?
Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They are holding people here. Please, I'm an artist. I was invited to work, but I've seen things. Illegal things.
We will look into it, ma'am. Give us your location and a contact number.
Maria hung up the phone, believing that help was on the way. She waited for hours, then days. She expected sirens, flashing lights, and a rescue operation. But the gates of the estate remained closed. Years later, it was revealed that her report was filed away and ignored. No one came. No one investigated. In that moment, Maria realized the terrifying truth. The people she was up against were more powerful than the law itself. The silence from the authorities was a clear message. Help wasn't coming. Maria knew she had only one person left to trust. She managed to get a secret message to her father, begging him to drive to the estate and get her out at any cost. When her father arrived at the massive iron gates of the Ohio property, he wasn't met with a welcome. He was met by armed guards and dogs. They told him his daughter wasn't ready to leave. They told him to turn around and go home. But Maria's father refused to budge. He stood his ground at the gates, creating a standoff that lasted 4 hours. Inside, Maria was frantic, realizing this might be her only chance. Eventually, fearing a public scene, the security team reluctantly opened the gates just enough for her to run to the car. As they sped away from the fortress, Maria looked in the rearview mirror. She saw a black SUV pull out behind them. She thought the escape was over, but she soon realized that leaving the estate was only the beginning of a life spent looking over her shoulder. The black SUV behind them was just the beginning. 4 years after her escape, Maria felt like she was living in a spy thriller, but with no one to protect her. Strange cars parked outside her house, and her phone lines would often crackle with mysterious interference. But the most devastating blow was to her spirit. Maria, once a rising star in the art world, found herself completely blacklisted. The galleries that once begged for her work now refused to take her calls. The inner circle she had escaped from had a long reach, and they were determined to make sure she was never heard again. She spent the next 2 decades living in near poverty, moving from place to place, always looking over her shoulder. She watched from a distance as the man she had reported in 1996 became more powerful, more wealthy, and more untouchable. It seemed like the truth had been buried forever. Then, in July 2019, everything changed. The headlines Maria had waited 20 years to see finally flashed across television screens worldwide. The names she had whispered to a silent FBI agent were now the subject of the biggest investigation in American history. Today, Maria Farmer is no longer a silent witness. She is a survivor and a powerful voice for those who were once ignored. She continues to paint, often using her art to express the trauma and the strength of those 20 lost years. But even with the convictions, many questions remain. Hundreds of files are still sealed, and the full extent of the operation she tried to stop in 1996 may never be fully known. The system failed Maria for decades, proving that the hardest battle isn't always escaping, it's making the world believe you. If the authorities had listened in 1996, how many lives could have been saved? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you want to dive deeper into the mysteries the world tried to hide, subscribe and join the investigation. Thanks for watching.